Welcome everybody to an episode of Pixels Politics. I'm your host, Dougie, solo today, this morning. Uh, I'm sorry for the late post if you're someone who watches or listens right away. We were supposed to have a guest on for an entirely different topic. They canceled or it's been pushed back. Hopefully it still happens. It's going to be a very big episode. I think they just missed it because of the time zone issue. So that's kind of the delay. And instead, I will be talking about the Artemis II mission taking place today. And some other thing that was talked about live by a US Senator or ex US Senator. It's very in line with some of the things we've heard. I'm going to try and break them down just a little bit or just talk about them. I know it's April Fool's. I do not plan on pranking you guys. I just realized it was April Fool's a couple hours ago, maybe 1 hour ago. And they're really big on holidays in general, let alone this one. I also think it's kind of troll for the government to in any way make announcements on April Fools, but it gets even worse when some of them also do a prank on April Fools. For reference, the Australian Prime Minister is set to give a very important speech today, while at the same time, another Australian politician decided to pull a prank. So he pulled a prank in a way that's hilarious because other governments are trying to make this topic serious, and we'll talk about it a little later. However, I don't care. I don't care if they're fools. I don't really feel like pranking you guys. I'm not that creative. I just watch the news and react. So, yes. Today is April Fool's Wednesday. It is very early in the morning. Like I said, delayed from when I normally record and post. It's also why I'm alone today. I know Tuesdays we always have Raiden here too. Sadly, we do not. He will be there for the big episode. I know he'd probably have a lot to say for this one. So, let's begin. I know there's a lot of flat earthers out there. I'm not sold on it just yet. I'm surrounded by a lot of flat earthers. So, it is what it is. Bear with me because I'm going to talk about this in a way that is still applicable even if you believe the earth is flat. And for you round earth enjoyers or tech enjoyers, UFO enjoyers, space enjoyers, then you will enjoy this too. But yes, Artemis II is Artemis in general is the US's new space kind of initiative program. It's been in the works for just a few years, but they've been pushing it extremely hard. And, without jumping extremely into why I'll go into it in a little bit, it's because China and a few other countries have similar plans to our plan. Actually, I think our plan was reactive to China's, to be honest with you, but it is, of course, you don't have to believe that this is the narrative. I'm going to tell you what the real narrative, what I think the real narrative is. But it is to build a lunar base. I think that's like Artemis 5. We're currently on 2. So, yeah, I'm on their website. We'll just kind of go through really quick. Artemis 2 again launches today. Artemis 2, I believe, will just be us sending astronauts close to the moon. They're not landing. But it's very similar to what we did, or, allegedly what we did 50 years ago, 60 years ago. And we first sent up a rocket, tested astronauts in space, and we get them close to the moon, see if we could kind of orbit at the least and come back. And then we sent another one to land, so on and so forth. Very similar. I will say, seems a lot more rushed. And I think that's because, again, China has announced very similar plans. But they have at least 4 of these fuckers planned. Okay? So, Artemis 2. Oh my goodness. This is the NASA website. So, it's all on there. This is all set to launch. So Artemis 1 was in 2022. And this one is to demonstrate a broad range of capabilities needed on deep space missions. So the end goal is Mars. However, I think they're kind of dialing it back in terms of uh, uh, their goals just because that might be too much or it's like too far, out there for them to achieve. So it's a small crew, only four. It's supposed to take place over 10 days. It's the first mission with crew aboard the Space Launch System rocket and Orion spacecraft. I kind of want to skip ahead. I don't really care much for two. I mean, two is a good start. They're not landing though. And I kind of want to jump to three. I believe three is the official landing. So three is to take place in low Earth orbit to test integrated operations. Oh, between SpaceX and Blue Origin. So SpaceX being, Elon Musk's space agency. Blue Origin is Amazon's or Jeff Bezos. So when do we land on the moon and start building this base? Okay, so Artemis 4 is when we land. So it looks like they want to use a combination of the two companies. Artemis 4 astronauts will travel to lunar orbit, where two crew members will descend to the surface and spend approximately a week near the south pole of the moon conducting a new science before returning. And when is this one set? Early 2028. That's kind of far. It's not nearly as rushed as I thought. So, this is where the fun begins. A lot of people don't seem to care about this. You have the people who, think that it's all fake in general. They just don't care because we've already done it before. They don't care because there's too much other shit going on. Fair enough. I completely understand all three of those reasons. I am a fucking nerd. I am not an engineer. I never really pushed myself when it came to math. Made it to calculus in high school. And then I kind of just like retook the math classes I already taken in high school and college, just because again I'm a little lazy, didn't want to push myself. However, dear God, I love technology and I just love engineering, especially our military aircraft, the planes, and rockets are surprisingly a lot more simple in my opinion compared to listen, they're not that simple. Of course, it's obviously more complex, but compared to what some of the military aircraft we have can do is insane. And a lot of the science that goes into building these rockets actually came from, well, at the very least, the people who worked on those planes. But we have to go back in time, just a smidgen. And I'm going to Flat Earthers, bear with me. There's a lot of people who deny the real goal of the mission is to just land on the moon just for fun, which makes sense. To be honest with you, at the bare minimum, I'm sure most of us can probably agree it's not just for fun. I think it has a lot to do with competition with China. They announced that they were going to do it, but there's something a lot smaller or bigger that everyone is missing. And to me, it's the same thing that everyone missed when it came to the first space race. So the first space race was, of course, against the USSR during World War II. And I just want to play one of the kind of news broadcasts that took place after Sputnik. So believe it or not, the Russians were technically first to put a man in space, I believe, a rocket too. And at the time, the Americans were extremely caught off guard. I don't know if the military was caught entirely, off guard, but the American people were definitely caught off guard. To imagine that all of a sudden, anyone who's already watching the sky in the U.S. sees this man-made structure that no one had ever seen before, really freaked a lot of Americans out. Like, they didn't know what it was. They were fucking terrified. So this is one of the broadcasts.
Today, a new moon is in the sky, a 23-inch metal sphere placed in orbit by a Russian rocket. Here, an artist's conception of how the feat was accomplished. A three-stage rocket. Number one, the booster in the class of an intercontinental missile. Its weight estimated at 50 tons. The smaller second stage took over at 5,000 miles an hour and carried on to the highest point reached. 500 miles up, the artificial moon is boosted to a speed counterbalancing the pull of gravity and released. You are hearing the actual signals transmitted by the Earth-circling satellite. one of the great scientific feats of the age.
So again, that was extremely novel for the time. You know, it was shocking to most people. And I was talking with much older family members, and I love to ask older people this question of like, what was politics like back then? What was kind of news like back then? And the person I was talking to gave just the best answer, and he was like, it's the media, it's the technology that's so makes the current environment so different because everyone's so tapped in and knows everything all the time. So, for example, when the U.S. was sending all the warships to Iran, China was literally just posting pictures of these boats, these large aircraft carriers, on the way to Iran. It's no hidden mystery as to where those boats were going or where they were. China's just posting them for fun. It's sort of a way to warn Iran and help them give knowledge without kind of pissing off the Americans by releasing it globally. Like, hey, look what we can do. Clever. So you also have to imagine that at the time, the only real communication you have is maybe newspaper, or it's the people around you. It's usually people around you at the time. There's a lot more social talking in person. And so again, there's no precursor to this. There's just a fucking metal sphere flying over the U.S. And there, again, no precursor. Sure, the UFO stuff has happened and aliens, but it's a much fringer community. It's a much smaller community that's kind of tapped into that stuff, whether people believe it or not. So you can imagine the sort of mass panic caused by the Sputnik kind of flying overhead. And the question was kind of why? Well, it's a flex on America. That's what it was. It's a flex. But the main cause is the intercontinental ballistic missile. That's what it is. So at the time, Russians they had missiles and we didn't, basically, is what was going on. We dropped nukes from planes. Russia had I called them Russia. USSR had intercontinental ballistic missiles before the US. It was actually such a problem that they could hit us without flying overhead, that the only response that the U.S. had was to constantly have nuke carrying based aircraft near Russia, or sorry, I keep saying Russia, near USSR at all times, 24/7. That was their only plan. There's a specific name for it. I forget what that operation was called. I think, but it took place for years. And accidents happen. They accidentally dropped nukes. One of them almost went off. There's like 3 fail safes, and all but one was left after it had fallen. It was in a friendly territory too. It's more than once this happened, and it was because they had to constantly fly planes with these nukes, because if the Russians decided to nuke us using the intercontinental ballistic missiles developed during their space program, which is what it was for. That's what it was for. That would be our only way to respond. And so what do we do? Well, of course,
the dramatic achievements in space which occurred in recent weeks should have made clear to us all, as did the Sputnik in 1957, the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere who are attempting to make a determination of which road they should take. Since early in my term, our efforts in space have been under review. With the advice of the Vice President, who is Chairman of the National Space Council, we have examined where we are strong and where we are not, where we may succeed and where we may not. Now it is time to take longer strides, time for a great new American enterprise, time for this nation to take a clearly leading role in space achievement, which in many ways may hold the key to our future on Earth.
So of course we announced we announced the space race. We announced our own missions to space. But again, it had nothing to do with going to space. It had to do with developing intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's what it was for. It's exactly what it was for. But you can't just come out and say that, because basically you're you're borderline declaring war on a country, right? When you're saying, okay, they have ballistic missiles, so it's the nuclear thing of today, right? If someone's developing a nuke, to stop them, same thing. They don't want to say that, so instead we say, well, we want to go to space. We're gonna go to space. We're gonna fucking plant a man on the moon. And the people go, yes, let's do it. Let's use our tax dollars to go to the moon. But of course, in reality, it is about developing intercontinental ballistic missiles, satellites. It's about developing weapons. So, drawing comparisons to what is going on right now. There's a lot of things going on right now. Yes, a lot of wars taking place at the moment. Things are kind of getting a little hairy. Economy not so good. AI is becoming a fucking energy drain pretty much across the globe. Energy in general is getting squeezed. So why would you announce going back to the moon? Well, it's actually because of energy. That's what it's for. It's about developing small modular nuclear reactors. That's what it's about. Maybe fusion, I don't know. That's kind of a whole other topic. But at the minimum, it is about maximizing our potential in energy. That's what it's about. And they say it all the time. It's been announced quite a few times. Let me see, SMR. I'm sorry, SMR. Small modular reactors for a moon. So their biggest thing. I'm gonna see if I know Trump said it. Their biggest thing is announcing. Is it here?
Do rapid approvals for new energy infrastructure, and we will embrace all forms of energy, including nuclear. Nuclear is a great energy. This plant is making some things that I just got to see, and it's incredible what you've done, what Gary and the family have done. The level of complexity, the level of detail, the power that we're talking about is incredible.
You need nuclear energy to power all of these things. It's just here's them talking about it.
So as you look at the challenges ahead, nuclear and getting that online is going to be something that you're really focused on.
It is. Look, the nuclear industry took off after World War II. In the first 25 years, we licensed and put under construction 130 nuclear reactors at over 80 power plants. Then we created the NRC, or really we split the Atomic Energy Commission into the NRC to regulate nuclear power and the Department of Energy to promote and advance the technology. And what's happened since then is we've licensed and built 2 new reactors in 45 years, after over 100 in 25 years. So clearly something's got to change there.
So you're optimistic. I mean, you seem like an optimistic guy, but you're optimistic sitting in this seat.
This is America. We put people on the moon. Can we build nuclear reactors again? Absolutely. Is it going to be a challenge? Do a lot of things...
This is not a coincidence. Can we put people... He says, can we put people on the moon? Why would you compare that to building a nuclear reactor? What the fuck do those two things have in common?
To change to get this ball rolling again? Yes. But can we do it? Yes, we can, and yes, we will.
Mr. Secretary, we appreciate the time. We're going to tour around your great department here a little bit later. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
So I believe that's the old energy secretary, but here again, transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, expedited plans this week to build a nuclear reactor on the moon. Russia announced wanting to build their own nuclear reactor on the moon. China's the same thing, okay? The goal is to build as nuclear energy as efficiently as possible, and the way you do that is by slamming as much money into it as possible, and the only way you get the people behind it is by going on these missions, these grand missions. So what is our mission? It's to get a nuclear reactor on the moon. All of us are supposed to cheer like we did back then, but people just don't give a fuck these days. And in doing so, they dump a bunch of US dollars in it. And, to be honest with you, I think it's a good thing in general. A lot of the technology that we're using literally as I fucking speak came from the moon mission, the first one. Again, whether you think it happened or not, that's fine. It actually, I don't think it was the goal. The goal was to develop the technology to fucking land a nuke on another continent. But that's not the only thing we got from it. Modern day computers came from it, so they had to make computers as much smaller than they had been at the time. They had to make them more robust. For the conspiracy theorists, your modern day camera also spawned from that mission. The one in your phone, a lot of the technology in your phone came from the first moon launch or mission, the space race. So what will happen here, most likely, again, whether or not you believe we are going to the moon or not, is we'll see a lot of new technology come from this because they have to develop it to do what they say. Whether or not they're doing it is on you. You can decide. But they had to develop a lot of technology to do it. You got to be able to transport nuclear, uranium safely, right? Got to develop the nuclear parts. So the big push right now is what they call small modular nuclear reactors. And the technology is still kind of crude, but it's there. And now, obviously, the goal is to make it as small as possible. And again, a lot of that is because of the energy shortage we're facing right now. I know Australia is getting hit real bad, guys. I know that news is happening. Covered it a little bit already. I kind of want to, I like to keep my episodes segmented sometimes in terms of what we're covering. I don't want to just slam everything at one time. I want to keep it on topic. We'll talk about that again soon. Don't worry. But there's going to be a lot of energy shortages coming up. There's already been a lot. There's been a lot of blackouts because of the energy shortages going on. The war in the Middle East, the war in Europe, obviously kind of causing problems where problems already existed. You have the Chancellor of Germany who came out recently and said the destruction of their nuclear reactors was a mistake. You have the Prime Minister of Australia. He came out recently and said they're going to deregulate or, make it much easier to build reactors. And the U.S. has already been making a large push in this field for the past 2 years. I can pull up countless videos where they talk about nuclear reactors. And it is just the only way to power AI. This is. AI is a fucking sink for energy. And in general, it's the only way to power the future as we go. Like, just is what it is. And so that's what they're pushing for. And again, I'm very hopeful about it. A lot of the technology that we enjoy today came from that mission. They usually come from these grand missions in general. Military missions. They tell you that NASA was not military oriented. It's so funny. I have, again, another older family member, great uncle, who actually worked on both one of the Challengers, I think. And before then, he worked on the U-2 spy plane. And it was just so funny. We were talking at lunch or dinner, and he was trying to convince me that the military had nothing to do with NASA, but all at the same time, a lot of the engineers that were working on those shuttles and that technology also happened to have worked on the military planes. And I was just like, isn't that proof enough? But whatever. Whole other topic. Again, it was about building those rockets. No country is just doing something for fun. Of course, they have a goal. Again, it's about miniaturizing these reactors as small as possible so that we can power AI. And of course, I know the thoughts on AI are wildly. There's a wide variety of them just across the board behind everybody. I have my own. You guys probably know them by now. I've said them so many times. But again, I tend to get excited about these things, even if it wasn't about it. I would, a fucking moon base. I mean, that's cool. I can't imagine all the technology that's going to go into that. I think it's sick. So I look forward to it. It doesn't seem to be moving as fast as I thought it would. 2028, it's not that far away. But yeah, it's about racing. Rumor has it that the U.S. already has a military plane that can fly from orbit or fly from our planet into orbit without vertical launch plane, like a military jet. It's called like Y something. It's a Boeing jet. It's sick as fuck. I've seen some models. It kind of looks like the X-wing from Star Wars. Rumor, just a rumor. Anyway, but yeah, so the launch takes place tonight here on the 1st, about 6 p.m. EST. I'm actually close enough to see it. I'm surprised it's not using the Dragon, but they've used the Dragon for a lot of things, and of course they have to kind of spread it out. The next topic is linked. Sort of. It's mostly linked. Again, another one that people are kind of back and forth on, but it's UFOs and aliens. Again, it's fucking April Fool's. It seems so troll for me to talk about it on this day, but I just can't help myself, mostly because of something Matt Gaetz said, which we'll cover shortly. But I've been collecting a lot of, alleged UFO sightings. I love UFO sightings too. I'm sorry, I'm such a sucker for them. I think it's so funny, whether it's us, somebody else, or, truly aliens or whatever. Everyone's seeming to have a different theory about it. I love watching them at minimum. I think they're cool. I've been collecting a bunch of videos. I planned on, going through all of them in an episode just separately because, I like to keep the news just as serious as possible. The last thing I want to do is kind of ruin the credibility of covering the news with a bunch of UFO stuff. But if you guys want to see it, let me know, and I will talk about it anyway. I have a bunch of them. I've just been saving them. So, I'm sure at this point most of you guys have heard at least some government official or the government in general, pretty much across the globe, I think at this point, talk about aliens and UFOs possibly being real, obviously having to do with the lights, the orbs, and the drones going on. I have a couple clips to show you guys, but I did want to start with this story that we really hadn't covered. And it was the series of meteors that are constantly seen over the continents recently. Again, I don't know if it's normal and average amounts. Don't know if we're only seeing more because of the constant, videoing going on between all of us individuals. We're just constantly with our phones out these days. All the Ring cameras, all the Teslas. It seems like everyone has some UFO footage at this point. But there were a bunch of meteors just over pretty much every continent. They were, of course, getting films and, again,
Increíble.
tons of theories. Tons of theories. You can see one here. This is over Costa Rica.
Compañeros.
These look like satellite parts to me, or debris. Some space debris. But there's a bunch of them.
¿Quién sabe qué será eso?
We'll talk about all the conspiracy stuff involved with it too, like Project Blue Book and Project Bluebeam, and there's another one. This one is this is the Michigan one. So there's one in Michigan, another one in Ohio. There's a lot of people who keep claiming the 3I Atlas or 3-1 Atlas.
Over Connecticut,
Or
that has
probes.
been generally explained away as being a trick of the light, but what appears to be a second object following a meteor into our atmosphere. But why would this be the case?
It's impossible to know the truth on any of these things. This is the one over Ohio. Oh, this is the one we just watched. That green one, yeah. Green one is really popular.
July of 2022,
Vermont. That green one is so popular. But yeah, a bunch of them got spotted. Again, I don't know. Maybe it's normal. Maybe we're seeing more because of the camera age. I have no idea. I honestly don't know. It's definitely a common phenomena that, if one person spots something, all of a sudden everybody starts spotting it. Combination of mass hysteria and just everybody looking for it. You know, we see that a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if it's this one. I think this is the one that was getting the most headline. The green one. Yeah, that big green one. But I've seen a ton of these. So, I've seen them over Russia. I've seen them everywhere. And I've collected a lot of UFO footage. This is a 15-year Army veteran who served at Iraq.
As a soldier who had boots on the ground in a combat zone and witnessed the night sky when things popped off, I am telling you, you all are being lied to about these meteors that are coming into our atmosphere that have now fell over California, over Houston, over Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, they've been everywhere. We get it. However, I mean, I feel like I've covered anything she would say. So we should probably talk. Oh, let's cover this first. So this is Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is a very interesting guy, to say the least. He was originally set to serve as director of CIA, I believe, for the Trump administration. Then it got there's some interesting things about him. I'm not sure I can really say on air without the video just getting cock blocked by the Foreign Intelligence Agency, but it seemed like a certain country did not want him to be involved. They had some history. Just so happened Congress also found a report or proof that he was sleeping with a prostitute, which is illegal. And I just think it's funny considering like half of Congress is all in the files. Not to mention all of them pretty much voted that none of their records having to do with abuse should get released. But whatever. For Matt Gaetz, they seem to isolate him a little bit and pick on him. Don't know if it's connected, maybe coincidence. I don't know. But he is a previous senator, so again, kind of fucked up. He was a senator. He stepped down as senator to go serve the position under Trump. Then he got kicked out. Whole mess. And he and Tim Burchett, who's another senator. Tim Burchett, another guy with interesting kind of past. He got caught sleeping with a CCP spy, a Chinese spy. And also Anna Paulina. These three went to they were pretty big on the UFO committee, for Congress. They investigated stuff, listened to whistleblowers type stuff. They went and visited a, alleged UFO site, military base that was housing the UFOs and aliens and such and such and such and such. Again, whether you believe it or not, it's a whole mess. I love alien stuff. It's fucking cool to me. However, the second the government gets involved, I'm just like, it's all a lie. But he went on the Benny Johnson show podcast, and he said this.
I think.
Just keep in mind, guys, this is getting big on April Fools, so take that as you will.
The most important information will be the biologics that are not human that have been discovered, and like even some of the briefings that aren't classified just need to be out in the public. I mean, I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. An actual uniformed member of the United States Army briefed me on that.
Non-human biologics, interracial alien mating? What the F is going on? Look, wait a second. You had whistleblowers tell you this kind of thing? Can you please unpack that?
Yeah, I had a guy who was uniformed. He was a senior enlisted with the United States Army. Came into my office in Crestview, Florida, in a non-classified setting. I had members of my staff there, and what they explained is that the military ran a very secret program where aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of migrants. Now, again, I didn't verify this, but what the whistleblower was telling me is that there were like between 6 and 12 locations around the country where this happened, and what he wanted.
Okay, first things first, if it was happening, it wouldn't be happening within our country, the U.S. wouldn't be happening here. There's just not a chance they would take that risk. For example, the CIA ran biochemical warfare weapon programs outside the U.S. Now, it's technically because it's illegal to do it in the U.S. It's technically illegal to do it anywhere in the world under the Geneva Convention. But CIA is going to CIA. They did it in Ukraine and a bunch of other countries. If they were going to do this, why would they do it in the U.S.? It doesn't make any sense. They would do it outside the U.S., but whatever. We'll continue.
Was a group members of Congress to all show up at the same time at all of these different locations so that any of those activities could not be moved. And of course, it's a physical impossibility to get members of Congress to simultaneously show up at like 8 locations at one time. And so that never occurred.
Is he being facetious? Why would that be impossible? It's like, what, 435 members of the House? It's 50 members of Congress. So why would that be impossible? I mean, did you say it was 6 or 7? You can't get 6 or 7 people to show up simultaneously at 8 different locations? Why is that possible?
What do you mean non-human biologics? Like this?
Well, that was the testimony of David Grush before the.
So David Grush, I'm big on the UFO stuff. A lot of these whistleblowers have been coming out on. Well, they started coming out on the Joe Rogan show, and then they started testifying in front of Congress. We've probably showed some of it on air a few times. It's been like increasingly ramping in media these past few years. I'll explain what Project Blue Book and Blue Beam are. We've talked about them before. But David Grush is like the main guy. I'm not gonna lie, don't really like David Grush that much. He says things. He's either trying really hard to, convince people by being as serious as possible. Fair enough. But he comes off as a bad actor to me. Again, just my feelings. But he's kind of the main guy that they like go to when it comes to these things.
The House Oversight Committee, which I joined, and the testimony was that in crashes of craft that had been recovered by the CIA and through a special program that the CIA had for crash recovery, that it wasn't just the hard materials, it was also biologics, but that they couldn't identify a human source of those biologics.
It's all pretty. Hopefully, this isn't blowing your guys' mind. You've already heard a lot of this before. This is pretty common within the UFO whistleblower community, at least the mainstream one at the moment. And again, for me, I'm normally so interested in the UFO stuff, the second a government official starts yapping about it, I'm just like, yeah, it's probably not true, just because they're so full of shit all the time. So Project Blue Beam is a government program in which they plan on staging a fake alien invasion as a military. It's a military operation, probably against an enemy. Project Blue Book is the precursor to that, in which they implement all of these quote whistleblowers who are all lying, basically, and all this fake information that UFOs and aliens are real. So they're connected. They do both exist. Project Blue Beam, 100 or Blue Book, 100% exists. It's been around for a long time. Blue Beam, I think, is the newer one, but it's also been around for quite a bit. And obviously, you just have these two narratives that aliens are real, and there's all these, we've gotten technology from them, we're communicating with them, they're eating us. Then you have the one that they're fake, and that we're planning on using this story in order to launch an attack and maybe not be responsible for it. I don't know. It's a mess. I could very easily see both. To me, I like to live in the fairy tale land before the U.S. and other countries started talking about it. I love to just see them. Swear to God, I saw the TR-3B when I was young. We went to a drive-in theater, and I swear we saw the TR-3B. I swear it. Swear. it was just hovering above us. Not so close. It was just there in the clouds. We looked up. We were all looking at it. Me and my family. This fucking the cloud kind of went under it. And it was just gone. Looked like it had gone up. Swear I saw the TR3B before, many years ago. I was young. I swear, guys. I swear I saw it. Swear. My brother, he remembers too. Tells me all the time. It's like, you remember that UFO we saw at the theater? This is all the time. Yes, I remember. Never forget that fucker. TR3B just floating above us. So I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know which one it is. We'll find out in the future, I'm sure. Probably coming up here shortly. Trump is set to declassify. Well, it's already done. They're set to declassify new files, new videos, new images on this stuff. Of course, we'll go through them. That's like what we do, is go through these declassified files. We have other nations that have said they're real. A lot of it plays around the drone activity that's been going on. And so the New Jersey one is one that everyone points to. However, we have audio of a CEO of a company saying that was them. There's a lot of other, specifically my state, Florida, there's a lot of UFO sightings off our coast, the orbs. It'd be a lot of different things. And I'm going to show a video later of Trump saying that it's not our drones. It's not enemy's drones. They think it's aliens. So this guy here, Stephen Greer, I thought he was a whistleblower too, but he's going to talk about Project Blue Beam.
The big one would be this, what Werner von Braun warned about on his deathbed. He said, he said, we are going to hoax an alien attack on the planet. It's all a lie, but it will trick and fool almost everyone. So we're trying to expose that. But see, if this festers much longer with that group that have the technologies I'm talking about, in a minute they could stage this and it would fool. Well, it had. I mean, look at what they've been doing for decades, fooling everyone. Everyone thinks, oh, those are alien events. And, our military guys chasing these objects thinks those are military, right? But they're not. I mean, or alien, they're military or covert aerospace programs. So the ability to hoax an attack on our planet is real. And
what would be the goal in them doing that, staging a really false alien attack on the entire world? What would they accomplish?
They want to unite the world around a military junta.
So that's the other theory I've heard, is they want to unite the world. It's like the WEF, UN constant controversy, conspiracy theories. They're trying to unite the world, control everybody, blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm not going to dismiss any of the theories. I'm a person who takes in information, and then I decide if it's true or not once I think I have enough. I do not feel like I have enough on this topic. I don't. I'm not going to say they're aliens until I see an alien. I'm not going to say they're not, U.S. military aircraft until I can see them. It's especially not good that when I see it through a TV screen or a monitor, even more doubt. And it's double the doubt when I see it on a mainstream social media website. Just for me, it's like it's all the markings of cannot be trusted. We all know why. That's all we talk about on the show, is why we can't trust mainstream media. But I do think it's funny that everyone has these theories and everyone seems really convinced that they're correct. I don't understand how. I don't understand how you're so convinced these are aliens and that they're gonna attack us, or that it's fake and that the government set it all up. I know the programs exist, of course, but I mean the fucking CIA ran voodoo operations for 20 years. They tried to open up a Stargate for quite a while. Like, you can't believe that they accomplished all of their goals. Maybe they did. I don't know. But I'm not crazy about the idea. So I just kind of soak in the information. I love hearing all the theories. I would love to hear you guys. Type them out. Please comment. Let me know. If you think it's just one of these two things, that's great too. I am just waiting. Try and convince me. Just let me know. I love hearing about them.
Totalitarian system. And how do you do that? how do you get one race or one ethnicity or one nation to stop fighting with each other? You create a bigger problem up there, and it unites everyone against a common enemy. But in that uniting of the world in war instead of peace, they can then exert all manner of totalitarian.
I don't think this works, right? So, like, who's doing that? They'll say it's just the U.S. Okay, the U.S. is going to stage an alien invasion on all countries, and somehow China and Russia and all of our enemies aren't going to be suspicious of that the U.S. did it. They're just going to be like, yeah, it's aliens, and then we're all going to join forces and sing Kumbaya. Like, this is like, I don't know, no offense to this guy, but it's a fairy tale kind of ending. I'm not saying they wouldn't try it, but it's a real stupid ass idea that wouldn't work. I'm like, if I'm China, I'm not China, I'm an American, and if I was China and I got bombed by aliens, I'm like, okay, that's just America. I would just immediately think it's America. It wouldn't even be a question. I'd be like, that's definitely America. Same with Russia. Why would they have any? I mean, this guy says that they have technology, or we have technology that is so convincing. I don't know what that looks like, I guess. I can't fathom it. Maybe he's correct. We do. Can't fathom what that looks like. That you're able to convince our enemies that they're getting attacked by aliens. And by they, does he mean like a world, like the UN, WEF? So the WEF, or these Illuminati people, have their own militaries and can stage this? I'm not saying it's impossible, but again, doesn't really make any sense. Did you still somehow have to convince every government? This is also why I'm not crazy about the flat Earth theory stuff, but or the technically Putin did come out and say that the moon landing was not real, by the way. Just put that out there. But you have to convince all of the governments who are even enemies that it's not them, that it's aliens. And you have to somehow be so technologically advanced that you can do that. And I'm not saying it's impossible, I just don't think it's very likely. I think the other thing is that the Manhattan Project, the thing that gave birth to the nuclear bomb, they say, was kept top secret. They managed to keep it secret from the U.S. populace, even though there were thousands of people working on it. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I wasn't around during that time period. I have no idea. That's what they say. I do kind of believe it. Because, again, technology is a lot different. It's a little easier back then, I'd say, to keep people contained. It's a lot harder now. Where I'm going with this is that I imagine there's something else planned that we don't know about. They're working on something else, or something else is, a weapon is being created. And this is all smoke and mirrors, is my guess. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. You can decipher it all. It's my guess, but again, my guess is any good as any of yours, and even this guy's or anybody else's, until we know for sure. And we'll know for sure eventually.
Controls. That has been a 70-year plan. I have a CIA document from 1953 or 54 stating that they can use the UFO issue to great advantage for its, quote, psychological warfare value. So once they got close and mastered the technology.
Okay, so this guy is playing, this theory plays both. He says that we got the technology from aliens, we recreated it, and we plan on using it to stage an alien invasion, fake alien invasion. Okay, that's clever. Way to integrate all of the theories together. Again, it's too fairy tale to me. Like, this idea that the government runs so fucking well that they're able to do all these things at one time and accomplish their goals is
mid-50s. And they knew they were close to that in 53, 54.
It's also bothering me that he doesn't say what technology it is, because anti-gravity technology has been theorized in like 3 or 4 different forms. As far as I can tell, the most realistic one is spinning mercury real quick. Again, using a small modular nuclear reactor. This one that makes the most amount of sense to me. There's a lot of people who talk about triple, 3-point energy, 0-point energy. much different.
Then what has happened is that they've started a long-term program to brainwash the public that there's a threat out there. Now, the question is, will they brainwash President Trump and other people? We're providing the information we have, but there are some
Who's
devils
they, buddy?
from these deep state operations around the president, giving him the opposite perspective. So this is getting into like, well, which of these narratives is it gonna be the true narrative or the false flag narrative? And when you have someone like the president who's very busy, and you have to do a one-sheeter for him, and he's doing a million things a day, it's very easy for people who are in the system he trusts, who are actually foxes in the henhouse, who are bad actors, for him to take their advice.
Okay, but what does it have to do with your theory, my guy? Your theory is that this fucking mysterious they, plan on hosting a fake invasion. That's what your theory is. So what? They go to Trump and they tell him what exactly? There's an attack? Then what? We start fighting ourselves? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. But, here's Trump talking about the drones. This was fucking yesterday. So again, let's see.
Swarms flying over sensitive military installations in the U.S. over the last.
So there's been large amounts of reports of drones flying over military sites across the globe, from Europe to the U.S. We've covered a few of them on the show, different episodes. Of course, we had the Chinese balloons. We had drones that were civilian drones or Russian drones over in Finland, Helsinki. Shut down an entire airport. Happened a lot in Europe. I imagine it's happening a lot in China. They don't talk about it. It's happened pretty much all over the place. But from what we know, most of those drones, if not all of them, were foreign military. Russian, Chinese, or American. So, this is just follow-up.
Last couple of weeks, the reports are they don't look commercial and they can't be jammed. Is this another country's military?
I don't think so. We have a great system of. Do you notice that over the last 4 or 5 days you haven't seen very many drone hits, right? We have some unbelievable anti-drone weaponry that's incredible. But you want to have, like, for instance, the ballroom. We have a very powerful steel roof with other things in it. And you want to have, if you're building a building for security, just like his judge's opinion, you have to have security for the president and his staff. You need heavy, strong ceilings. You need seriously thick, bulletproof, ballistic glass. And we have that. Other buildings don't. Fairly modern buildings don't have that. They have roofs that are weak, and they have regular glass windows.
There was this incident down at Barksdale, though, where apparently a whole swarm of drones for a couple hours was over the flight line. There's a lot of really important planes down there.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that this is something?
Well, I'm not concerned. Yeah.
He looks so unbothered. I'm sorry. He looks so unbothered.
Yeah, I know about it. They've checked that out, and they've gotten to the bottom of it. You have a lot of people now that fly these things all over the place, and we're coming down very hard on them. But we're able to take them out militarily. We're able to take them out very easily. And a new thing is lasers. The lasers are becoming very, very effective.
Lasers is another. It's another bottleneck for. Sorry, energy is another bottleneck for lasers. So lasers it'll also play a large part in our future. It's the other part of this technology. It's the trifecta for the future is lasers, AI, and nuclear energy. That's the three that we'll see the most of in the future. We're playing a lot with lasers. Again, I'm pretty excited for it. But we will see that. They want to put lasers everywhere to shoot down drones, missiles, such and such. However, of course, it costs energy to do it. And if you're trying to shoot out of the sky, 1,000 cheap Chinese drones, and you need a bunch of lasers going off at one time, you need a consistent energy source. Again, nuclear reactors. That's where it goes. Small nuclear reactors. They need to be able to transport the nuclear reactors from places quickly. How are they going to do that? Well, yeah, dump money into the space program to get a nuclear reactor on the moon. Same shit.
You hit a drone and it melts in air. It's a beautiful thing to see. If it's coming at you, having a laser is a very nice thing. But we have, there are methods of defending against drones. I mean, the advantage from the standpoint of defense is...
I love watching Trump for the sole purpose that he says things that he's not supposed to say at all. So we saw the lasers, we mostly know about at this point. I don't think we truly know how operational they are. And we did get to see the fucking space laser shoot some rockets out of the sky during the war with Iran recently. And I don't think we were supposed to see it, right? Yeah, I don't think he's also supposed to be saying shit like that, but it does kind of confirm what's going on.
They don't go very fast relative to a F-22, that plane right over there. They go very slow. They can be also shot out of the air by, high-quality aircraft, which we have more than anybody ever had.
Yeah, so...
There have been drone swarms flying over sensitive military installations in the U.S. over the last couple weeks. The reports are they don't look commercial and they can't be jammed. Is this another country's military?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. And then he says they're civilian, which is probably even more interesting. And they talk a lot about building structures to defend against drones, which they are doing. I don't know if it should worry us that that's weird. That link got taken down. That was pretty fast, considering I just put this together less than an hour ago. Shadow of Ezra. That's crazy. So this is the joke by the Australian politician Ralph Bobette. So this is his April Fool's joke, by the way. Just keep that in mind.
Yes, it's true. There are aliens living amongst us. There are aliens in Area 51. There are even alien human hybrids. I have been briefed this morning in a top secret intelligence briefing that exposes all. Unfortunately, I am forbidden from speaking.
Very funny, very funny. Nice April Fools. How original. So the other thing today, I don't know why they've decided today of all days to do it, but the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, Trump, and the Prime Minister of Australia are all hosting large speeches today at different times. Some in the morning, some at night. Not that it's relevant. I don't think this is entirely uncommon. I imagine some of this might be jokey. Maybe some of it's serious. Trump said that his speech, or Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, said that his speech would be about the war. Sounds like it's actually starting to wrap up, at least for America. He did have this crazy post. He said today, it was like, yeah, our part in the war is wrapping up, and pretty much the rest of the world, mostly our allies, can go and fetch their own damn oil, and that's what they get for not helping us in the war. It lines up also with something Israel said. Israel also said that they think that their mission has been accomplished, so it sounds like the war may be wrapping up. Of course, on the other hand, Iran said they would start bombing U.S. companies within the area, so, who the fuck knows? Who knows? But there's also, these three are set to give a speech today. Who knows? Who knows what it could be about? I don't know. We'll find out later today. And let's see what else we have. Okay, this is the fake speech. Again, very funny. Haha, Australian Prime Minister, enjoy your insanely high gas prices. People were pissed at him for saying that, by the way. The Australians did not think it was funny. The Australians were flaming the shit out of him for not fixing the gas prices there.
What Werner von Braun warned about on his deathbed. He said, he said, we are going to hoax an alien attack on the planet.
We already watched that. We already saw. So Anna Paulina is the other one. It was Tim Burchett, Anna Paulina, and Matt Gaetz. Those are the three big ones. There's a few other senators, but Anna Paulina, I want to like so bad. I want to like her so bad.
Being a member of oversight, we follow up with whistleblowers, and we also can conduct our own investigation. So myself, Representative Burchett from Tennessee, and Representative Gaetz were on a small codel to the Panhandle because a whistleblower came forward from Eglin Air Force Base pilots to Representative Gaetz' office saying that the Air Force was essentially covering up UAP activity and we needed to look into it. So we coordinated the meeting. Pentagon tried to initially cancel the first one. We got it back on the books. We show up there and we get in, and the base commander tried to basically tell us that we didn't have authorized clearance to look into and speak to some of the witnesses, of which you don't tell Congress that we don't have the authorized clearance, especially members of House Armed Services, Oversight, and Judiciary. So I kind of had it out with the base commander, which is kind of funny because this guy really thought that he had it going on. And he actually, in the middle of our meeting, he took off on leave, which never happens with a delegation going to military base. But then also, too, we had pretty sure people from the agency that were there as well. And so you really don't find that. I've worked at Hurlburt Field. I worked in the military for a number of years. And so why would a intelligence agency need to be there on a meeting for whistleblowers? So that happened. I can tell you, based on my investigations, not in a classified setting, that I absolutely believe that there is things that are advanced technologies not of human origin. And then we conducted the interview with David Grush, as you saw.
David Grush again. So there's obviously a lot more to this stuff, guys. A lot more videos. They've had a lot of whistleblower meetings. All of the whistleblowers have gone on the Joe Rogan show. I watched quite a few of them. They all kind of tell the same stories repeatedly. For those who are pretty in the know in this sphere, you've probably heard them 1,000 times. There's orbs. There's the classic kind of that cylinder structure there in the top left. Actually, I'm covering it. You can't see it. Haha. The top spinning top structure. And then there's 4 or 5 types of aliens and so on and so forth. I mean, it's out there. You can go and easily find more content. I could probably fill a 9-hour episode plus of all the whistleblower stuff. But the most, again, this is the surface level content of it.
It was one of the most widely attended congressional hearings in U.S. history. The information that was brought forward was particularly alarming because you're hearing about people that have potentially been murdered and covering up this information, and it was very interesting. So I advise everyone to watch it.
Yeah, was it... So based off of what, and have you received classified information or just what they said?
No, yeah, but I can't talk about that.
Of course you can't talk about it. So what did you, before you came...
I think it's just U.S. technology. I'm not going to lie. I think it's just U.S. tech.
To Congress, did you think aliens were real?
So I wouldn't call them aliens. I really like what Grush calls them. He says that they're interdimensional beings, and he's very specific about that.
What does that mean?
I think it means that they're not necessarily a biological entity from another planet per se.
Interesting.
What I will say is, I share a Christian perspective on...
I'll tell you what I think it is, too. Okay, listen, I'm not crazy about conspiracy theories. I'll tell you my top 2 when it comes to this stuff. And it's so wild to me. So I've had this one for a long time. I actually think it's just us, America, from the future. That's what I think it is. I think it's just us talking to ourselves from the future in order to achieve whatever goals we're trying to achieve. That's what I think it is. Not so much the UFO stuff, but the classified part. Or, it's just not that. It's just classic government, hullabaloo. We just have some classified technology that they don't want the Russians and Chinese to know about. And Congress goes looking for it, and they're just like, yeah, that's all it is. Could be that. But let's just, in the hypothetical world that there are UFOs, my guess is that it's just us from the future. That's it. If I had to put one out there, I think it's just us from the future. Quantum communication kind of gives you the ability to communicate across time. And we've already have that capability. We have quantum satellites. Quantum communication satellites. Russia and China also have them. That's my guess. Okay, that's my grand conspiracy theory I believe in. It's not really that crazy compared to some others. I'll tell you that much. That's what I think it is. And if I had the further one, my largest curveball is that there's it's the reptile aliens, and they're eating us. I'll talk about it in another episode, probably far away from now. But those are my two. Those are my two loony bin conspiracy theories.
Many things. And what's been interesting about this is the amount of stigma that existed previously to this cycle. But we have such a bipartisan push for transparency on this topic that they can't necessarily hide it. It has been interesting to see the levels of things that come up. Oh, there's no authorized clearance. You don't have the read-in authority for this, that, and the other. Well, if Congress is writing the bills to fund these programs, yet we don't have authorized access and oversight into it, then that's not necessarily something that happens in a free country, right? So we continue to push. But, I mean, it's been very interesting to see some of the stuff that's come up.
Was it before you learned it? Did you think it was going to be completely different than what you learned? Was it
No, I had some suspicions leading up into it. You know, when I was stationed at Portland Air Guard.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much today's episode, guys. Nothing crazy. Just that. And the, of course, Artemis missions that we'll keep track of. There's a lot more in news. It looks like Canada may have just applied to join the EU, which is not that surprising. Okay, it's okay. It's April Fool's. Haha. You got me. I really hate scrolling the news on April Fool's. A lot of nonsense. Just so much nonsense. Yeah, look, everyone's going crazy. There's a lot of stuff in the UK that we're going to talk about. Not today. Again, our next episode we'll have to do. I'll give you guys a little spoiler. It has to do with Frazzle Rip. We have somebody who allegedly is quite close or was close to the original. Let's just say he saw the original videos within like the first top 10 people, first 10 people. I think within the first 2, to be honest, maybe the first 3. So he's set to come on soon. This week. Hopefully I get that episode out this week. Just kind of, he's in a different time zone, a very far away one, so coordinating has been a little difficult. Again, that was supposed to take place before this episode. But the second we get that out, it'll be all over the place, I'm sure. I'll probably do a third episode this week, just because there's been so much interesting news when it comes to Europe. They've done this like a complete 180. And then there's a lot of stuff when it comes to the energy, quote, lockdowns that we'll also be talking about. Funny enough, it doesn't look like the U.S. would be participating in this one, but it looks like it'll be heavily affecting a lot of countries outside the U.S. So those will be the topics in the future. Again, sorry about this being late. I'm glad we're just getting it out there. This is a fun one for me. I love talking. Again, I love space stuff. I love the alien stuff. I could talk about the aliens forever. My favorite, of course, is our MJ12 video when we went through the JFK files. It was astonishing to go through. And then again, when it was repeated in the files, couldn't believe it. So I've always been, whether or not it's real or not, it's fun. It's just fun to talk about the alien stuff. So for those who are listening, thank you for listening. For those who are watching, thank you for watching. Spotify, shout out to you guys. I don't know what's going on. I can't do any promotion for Spotify. I could post some clips on Spotify the same way I attach short form videos on Instagram and YouTube. However, I don't know how that stuff is shown at all. Maybe it's on the phone. I don't know. It doesn't get many views. But however, our Spotify viewership is like skyrocketing. It's going crazy. I don't know what you guys are doing over there, but it's incredible. Very close to monetizing on YouTube, which will also be huge. Trying really hard to increase quality, trying to, increase the amount we're putting out. So again, just thank you guys for watching, liking, following, subscribing, and commenting. Please comment a lot on this one for me. Tell me your thoughts on the alien stuff. I love it. Give me all the crazy. I shared my craziest conspiracy theories. Please give me yours. And no doubt, these are 2 topics. We'll talk about it again in the future. At some point, we got to get the flat Earth thing settled. So once I've done my research, I'll go over it. But thanks again, guys. I will see you guys soon, probably tomorrow, to be honest. Tomorrow, or maybe just a the next day. So, yeah, thanks again. And good night, good morning, good evening, whatever it is for you.